YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, here to power rank the playoff teams after wildcard round going into the divisional round. I'll power rank all 12 teams that made the playoff. We're mainly focusing on the top 8 that are still alive in the playoffs this year right here. And we'll look at where they were in my last week's ranking as well. Right before we get started, we have a subscriber goal of 40K, but more importantly, we have 2 channels now. 2 channels, extra content. And if anything ever happens, because YouTube's getting weird lately, to the main channel, then you have the second channel to know where we'll upload everything. But there will be extra content on there as well. It's not just a backup channel, so please subscribe to both the Goat House and the Goat House Plus. Link in the description and in the comments. 40K is the sub goal on both of those channels. There's our Twitter, at GoatHouse NFL. I was talking constantly during the playoff games live, always giving my thoughts, even post-game, and on the head coaching frenzy, the NFL draft. It's a must-follow. Keep you updated on the channel as well. There's a link in the description in the comments for that. If you don't have a Twitter, please make one. Won't hurt. Patreon.com/thegoathouse. Extra content, and you support us. Help us grow even further. Let's talk about the eliminated teams and where I have them ranked to finish the season here and where they were ranked last week. We'll start with the Eagles. I had them 12 last week and still 12. It's just a really beat-up team. With that, I just don't think they're as talented as any other team in the league. They very well could have won. It's an assumption from some. I don't know if they would have won. I can't sit here and say they would have won, but if Wentz didn't get hurt or if they have everybody healthy, then they probably would have won the game. But that's just kind of how it was. So they were 12, and they'll stay at 12. The Bills will move down 2 spots to the second to last spot, number 11. A little bit of sloppy play, but they looked real good at times. The game they probably should have and could have won there. So, I did like the Bills season. They're on the right track. There was a little, some sloppy things they could clean up with Josh Allen. They need more weapons for him. That's number one. But yeah, coaching, was good most of the year and was good most of that game. Just a little iffy at the end. But they'll move from 9 to 11. The Patriots go from 7 to 10. As you can see, I really wasn't that high on the Patriots in the first place. They go to 10. I think it was pretty ridiculous that people just the reason they had a 100% chance of winning or they were going to win was just because they're the Patriots. I think it's a little ridiculous. I know it still is a little surprising to see that it come to an end, what they had going for now. But it just wasn't the same team as it was, so I was already kind of low on them. And that's where I feel now I put them even lower, so I feel like it was pretty accurate. So they're down to number 10. I think the Saints are the best team that was eliminated. But at the same time, I think we could everybody, including myself, could have overrated the Saints this year. You kind of looking back now, easy to say now, but kind of looking back, I think a reason we could have overrated them a little bit, obviously a very good team, very well-coached team, a lot of talent, but a reason we could have was because they won games with their backup quarterback, but the backup quarterback would be a starter on a lot of teams. Drew Brees breaking records, Michael Thomas breaking records. They're scoring a lot of points. Kind of looking back, they did struggle with the Falcons twice. They got to play the Bucs twice. They got to play the Panthers twice. So maybe we did overrate them a little bit. They did lose. A huge reason, maybe they weren't as good as they could have been is because Davenport and Sheldon Rankins were out, but other teams have a lot more injuries as well. A disappointing game. A game I thought they would win, and then I thought they would go and beat the Packers if they would have won that same Vikings game. If they would have got the ball first, maybe scored a touchdown. Who knows if they would have. But, I may have picked the Packers next week because I saw kind of them being vulnerable against pass rushes, and Breeze, how he was reacting to them, and the Packers have a pretty good pass rush. So I believe I was definitely high on the Saints. It was just one game, but that's how the playoffs work. So they go down to 9 from actually number 4. So the 8 teams remaining, let's break those teams down real quick. Number 8, it's got to be the Texans. I had them 11 last week, moved them up. And the main reason they were down 11 is because I didn't really trust the coaching staff a whole bunch. And, there are times, they're a very inconsistent team. We've seen, that's been proven all year. They'll look good, and then all of a sudden they'll look pretty bad. And there's times when this offensive team, doesn't have a whole bunch of offense, and the defense is solid, but not solid enough to pick them up against the good teams. And we actually seen it against the first half against the Bills. They go on a spree in the second half. That was good, but I still worry about these things. Good team. They made it to the second round. Bill O'Brien, could have put this game away earlier. He kind of costed them at one point. So I don't like that. I don't know if this team can go any further because I know they beat the Chiefs this year. And when you have Will Fuller on the field, hopefully he's on the field, it's a much better team. So we'll see, especially they look at the Chiefs. Defense improving, but now Juan Thornhill out, and even though it's an improving defense, you still can throw on this defense. So the Texans may be able to do work here. It's mainly Bill O'Brien, the coaching, that's holding them down. But, a team that, needs to be elite on offense to win, consistency kind of concerns me at the same time. But a good come-from-behind win against the Bills, a tough defense. Deshaun Watson is a winner. He's a beast. Hopefully they get Will Fuller out there to help Watson, help Hopkins. That would be great. Number 7 is going to be the Seahawks. They were 8 last week, so they moved up one spot. Not the most impressive win against the Eagles, a very beat-up team. The Seahawks are beat up themselves as well, but that kind of plays a part too. Them being kind of one-dimensional is kind of a big reason on why they're down here at number 7. But they did move up a spot. The defense, they're playmaking defense, but you can move the ball on them. But they had a good game last week in wild card round against the Eagles. Russell Wilson, I have full belief in Russell Wilson. Love me some DK Metcalf. He was lights out, maybe the MVP of the week, especially for the NFC. Lockett's a factor any time. Anybody's a factor any time with Russell Wilson. Just, it's the hit they take is being one-dimensional. They don't have much in a run game. Marshawn Lynch had a pretty beast touchdown run from, how many yards out. But Russell Wilson leading the team in rushing, not going to cut it. But I still believe they can go in and beat the Packers, no doubt. Russell Wilson, this team's been really good away. It's a solid team. They're getting better. Guys like DK Metcalf getting better. They could get some guys back possibly. Just wish they had Chris Carson. Wish that was the guy they were getting back. Just kind of being one-dimensional there on the offensive side. But the defense can make plays. They're number 7 here on the rankings. And number 6, a big move up for the Vikings. They were number 10 and number 6. A lot of people doubted the Vikings against the Saints. But they played good. They played good. They could have put the game away before overtime. It's kind of a good and bad thing. I think it's mainly a good thing because their talent, outplayed the Saints. A game where the people thought the Saints were completely going to outplay the Vikings talent, outplayed them. And, both sides of the ball. I mean, this defense most of the year struggled. It was in no way a bad defense, but it struggled compared to last year. I would call them a great defense. The year before, I would call them an elite defense. They broke several NFL records. But then looking since the Chargers game, was that week 15 or so? They've been maybe since that week. I know it's a short period, but maybe the best defense in football. They're getting turnovers like crazy. They're stopping teams on third down like they used to. They're very unique. It's a very unique defense. It's the Mike Zimmer defense. He always finds a way. So this defense is playing lights out, and the offense will run the clock. They will run the ball. They will run the ball with 2 running backs they got, and then that will open up the pass game, which the pass game could go to. Their 2 top-tier receivers. They got 2 pretty solid tight ends, or even to their running back. So the Vikings, it's a pretty good team. The only worry and why they're not higher than 6 is, consistency, because we've seen this team do that. We've seen them look like maybe the best team, maybe one of the best teams in football, and then kind of just let us down the next week. They also have to play, away, I guess, the rest of the way, and that kind of consistency and playing away that many times. Do they go together? It was a pretty good day, mainly because both sides of the ball played at the same time. You wish, which was rare for the Vikings, you wish the offense was a little better maybe, but it's a good team. It's because the talent on the field, it's because Zimmer's defensive mind on top of it. Wish their offensive minds were a little better in terms of the play calling. Sometimes a little worried about running the clock rather than going putting points on the board when they have the talent to do so. But they're up big time, 10-6. Number 5 is the Titans. I had them at 6 before, so I was already pretty high on the Titans. Well, why? Because this is balance at its finest here, ladies and gentlemen. You look within the offense. You got a balance in the pass and the run game. You wish there was a little more to the pass game against the Patriots, but that was kind of the game plan. It's an away game. It's a good defense, a really good defense, but you can run on this defense. It's a wet game. That was the game plan as it should be. They're very well balanced on offense. Derrick Henry's running ability opens up the pass. Tannehill's throwing ability opens up the run for Derrick Henry. And then looking at the defensive side, and that makes them balance as well because they can stop the run, they can cover, and that kind of makes them balance as a whole. You kind of combine the offense and the defense. That can play at a pretty good level at the same time, like we saw in this game. Only 14. Actually they scored at the end in the pick 6, but 14 points from the offense doesn't really show how good their offense was because they milked that clock and they ran all over the Patriots. So a very well balanced team on both sides of the ball. It's a tricky team. It's a hard to game plan for a team because you don't have a lot on them. This is a fairly new team. That's what it feels like. It's a whole new team since Tannehill came in. And it's not just Tannehill, though. Derrick Henry played better. They kind of tuned up the offensive line. They tuned up the play calling, the play designs a little bit. And then everything kind of flowed together and created balance. So it feels like a new team. That's what it feels like. So the Titans are at number 5. It's a scary team, but they do have to play maybe the best team in football in the Baltimore Ravens, so that's where it's tough. Number 4 is the Packers. Had them at 5, so they move up one spot for not even playing. The Saints losing kind of helped that. The Packers, I've been talking about them, the last few weeks. They could be a scary team in the playoffs because, especially with home field advantage, unless they have to play the Niners, and because it's a place you don't want to play. It's going to be freezing cold. They have a lot of experience there. Mainly Rodgers has experience in that situation. But on the field, looking at specifically on the field, this defense is much, much improved. It's a really good pass rush. They could stop the run. Guys like Kenny Clark or studs. They got playmakers in the secondary. Maybe the only weak spot would be linebacker, inside linebacker, which Blake Martinez the guy can play from time to time. He takes a lot of ripping, but the guy's not a bad player. But the defense much improved, very well coached in defense, and people kind of sleep on the Packers because the offense hasn't done a whole bunch. But this is the time for them. It wouldn't surprise any of us if Rodgers kind of just went off here in Lambeau in the divisional round and if whatever it may be, whatever round it may be, it wouldn't surprise us because it very well could happen. Especially when you got guys like Devontae Adams, who is yet to break out on the year, and guys like Aaron Jones who have broken out in the year and can continue to do so, and they have a good, Jamal Williams, a good backup as well. So. Packers are a scary team. They're a scary team at this point, and I think my favorite part about them though is that pass rush. Combining that with kind of the interior too, guys like Kenny Clark, inside of guys like Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. I like that very much. So the Packers are a scary team at this point. Number 3 is the Niners, another balanced team, but at times where the balance kind of goes away. There are times where the defense has slipped up late in the year, but the good news is the offense picked them back up, and there was times kind of earlier in the year where the offense kind of slipped up and the defense really picked them up. So that's kind of the good thing, but that kind of takes a hit on, I guess, the consistent balance. But they have the playmakers, they have the system, they have the ability, which is very, very key at this time of year, the ability to rush the passer. And maybe force the quarterback to, you can turn the quarterback over, you can get the sacks, you can force the quarterback to make a stupid decision, throw the ball up for grabs, and they have the secondary to make those plays. So it's a very well-balanced team. It's a very well-coached team. They have the playmakers. So they'll remain at 3 after the bye week. And number 2 is going to be the Chiefs, remaining at 2. I got 2 AFC teams at the top 2. It wouldn't be, they haven't been the best offense this year, the Chiefs. Kind of like what I was talking about the Packers. It wouldn't shock me if, they were the playoffs are over and we're talking about the Chiefs were the best offense in the playoffs. It wouldn't shock me. They have the best, you could argue Mahomes is the best player, the best quarterback in all of football. They're just going to get Damian Williams going now. That's great. They have the receiver unit. The offensive line's healthier. So it's a good offensive line when it's healthy. The defense is much, much improved. They're getting some pass rush going. They're getting some unique blitzes going. Juan Thornhill getting hurt. That's tough. Tyrann Mathieu playing extremely high level. It's a very good team. Well, they're a very well-rounded team, actually. You think of them as just an offense team, but they're pretty well-rounded, but, obviously more of an offensive team. It's a team that it's kind of tough to game plan for because, but mainly my point is, you can game plan for him, and it's still tough to stop him. Mahomes with his arm, and you never know where he's throwing the ball, and all the talent they have, but mainly the speed, the elite speed. Speed kills in today's NFL. That's why when their defense coming along. Last year, I think their offense can put up the same performance as last year. The problem was their defense. Obvious. The problem was the defense. Defense is light years better than it was last year, so that could be the difference there. And the number 1 team is the Ravens. Have been the number 1 team all year. It's a team you think you can game plan for, but you probably really can't because you don't know what Lamar Jackson's going to do. Even if you do know what he's going to do, you can't really stop it. And the guy can throw, which is kind of the wild card. He can throw really any ball on the field. So. And then the defense, a much, much improved defense. It's the best blitzing defense in football. It's the best secondary in football. The teams with these types of offenses usually just don't have the good enough defense, or the teams with the top-tier defense just really don't have the top-tier offense. And they got both. And it wouldn't surprise me if the defense improved even further into the playoffs here. But the offense is their game. Lamar Jackson is the system. He's the game. He's the game here. All right? Losing my voice over here. Yelling at football all weekend and talking too much in these videos. So I'm going to wrap it up. I got the Ravens at 1, so it shouldn't be any surprise. And, we'll be back next week. We'll be back next week with ranking even the eliminated. I like to rank the eliminated teams still, but it's mainly talking about the teams that are alive for the NFC and AFC championship games. And we'll talk about, once we get to that stage, we'll talk about the key to not only getting to the Super Bowl, but winning the Super Bowl. When we get to next week, we'll start talking about those teams. What are the keys to getting and winning the Super Bowl? So it should be a lot of fun. We got other videos covering the playoffs on the channel. I had a mock draft in the works. Excited for that. Kind of in playoff mode and off-season free agency / NFL draft mode at the same time. It's a great time of the year. Great time of the year here. Especially here at the Goat House. We got all the action. So please subscribe to both of our channels and follow us on Twitter. All those are must-dos here, so please do so. Wouldn't hurt you. Appreciate you guys, though. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you for being here. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.